This story is about a mutton soup that foiled a perfect murder plan, one so carefully crafted that the criminal went to insane lengths to make it foolproof. It's a crime that no one had ever thought of or attempted before. And to execute it, the killer had to go as far as burning his own face. It may sound like a movie plot, and in fact, this crime was inspired by a Telugu movie. If you're thinking that the mutton soup was poisoned, you're mistaken. The soup isn't a murder weapon, but rather a key character in this mystery, one that will unravel all the secrets in the end. On November 27th, 2017, Swati rushed into a private hospital in Nagar Kurnool, Telangana, with a man whose face was badly burned, screaming in pain. The hospital staff and everyone present were shocked at the sight. A panicked Swati told the hospital team that the man was none other than her husband, Sudhakar Reddy, who had been attacked by some people who poured petrol on him and set him on fire. The hospital staff quickly rushed Sudhakar to the emergency ward and began treatment. Over the next few days, his condition improved, but his face had been severely burned. The doctors suggested plastic surgery to repair his face, and Swati agreed. Since plastic surgery is an expensive procedure, and Sudhakar was a businessman, affording it wasn't a problem for Swati. Swati informed all the family members and relatives about the incident. Hearing the news, Sudhakar's mother, his brother Surendra, and the rest of the family rushed to the hospital. When they arrived, they saw that Sudhakar's face was entirely covered in bandages. He tried to speak, but his injuries were so severe that it had affected his throat, making it difficult for him to talk clearly. As the days passed, and Sudhakar's health slowly improved, the doctors recommended that he start on a liquid diet. This is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Sudhakar loved mutton soup, so his mother prepared it for him and brought it to the hospital. However, to everyone's surprise, Sudhakar refused to drink the soup. Despite repeated insistence from his mother and brother Surendra, Sudhakar refused to drink the mutton soup. In his condition, when one is recovering, it's natural to crave favorite foods. Everyone knew how much Sudhakar loved mutton soup, but this time, his refusal sparked a strange suspicion in Surendra's mind. He kept this growing doubt to himself, not sharing it with anyone. Sudhakar's face had suffered over 30% burns, but his overall health was improving. Yet Surendra noticed something unsettling. The way Sudhakar sat, stood, and even spoke seemed different. It was as if his entire personality had changed along with his face. These subtle but noticeable shifts deepened Surendra's suspicion until he could no longer keep silent. Without informing anyone, he went straight to the police and shared the entire incident. He described how his brother was attacked and how, strangely, Sudhakar's wife, Swati, had not filed a police complaint yet. He also mentioned that his brother had refused the mutton soup, which had always been his favorite. These revelations left the police puzzled. Something wasn't adding up. The police were puzzled by Surendra's words. They couldn't understand why he was so adamant. After all, refusing to eat or drink isn't a crime. But then Surendra revealed the suspicion that had been weighing on his mind, a suspicion that left even the police shocked. He believed that the man in the hospital wasn't his brother, Sudhakar. It was someone else. This was one of the strangest cases the police had encountered, so they assigned a special investigator to uncover the truth. The only way to verify the man's identity was through fingerprints. The police discreetly took his fingerprints and began matching them against Sudhakar's records, from his Aadhaar card to his bank accounts. After a few days, the results came in. The fingerprints didn't match. The man lying in the hospital, whom everyone had been caring for, wasn't Sudhakar. This revelation sent shockwaves through both families. Swati's father had even spent 5 lakh rupees on the man's treatment, believing him to be his son-in-law. The question now is, who is this man? And where is the real Sudhakar? Why is Swati insisting that this man is her husband? What secret is Swati hiding from everyone? The police summoned Swati to the station for questioning, digging into every detail, from the attack on Sudhakar to his admission to the hospital. During the interrogation, the police found numerous inconsistencies and gaps in Swati's statements. Sensing something was off, they pressed harder, and since Swati wasn't a professional criminal, she soon broke down and confessed the shocking truth. Something no one could have imagined. Back in 2014, Swati and Sudhakar had an arranged marriage. Sudhakar was a businessman, and Swati worked as a nurse. They had 2 young children, a son, Darshit, and a daughter, Harshita. A few years into their marriage, Swati began experiencing severe back pain. When the pain became unbearable, she and Sudhakar visited a doctor who recommended a physiotherapist named Rajesh. Initially, Swati attended the physiotherapy sessions with Sudhakar, but as Sudhakar's busy work schedule made it difficult for him to accompany her, Swati started going alone. Over time, Swati and Rajesh developed a relationship that quickly turned into an affair. As their affair deepened, Swati and Rajesh disregarded everything: their families, their responsibilities, and even their own moral boundaries. Swati's married life with Sudhakar slowly began to crumble. Swati didn't have a strong reason to divorce Sudhakar. After all, their life was normal, and divorcing him would mean losing her claim to his property. But when obsession takes over the mind, it can drive a person to extreme lengths. This case is the perfect example of that. Swati and Rajesh's twisted plan was in full motion. One day, Swati watched a Telugu movie that sparked a devilish idea in her mind. In the movie, a person's identity was changed through plastic surgery. Swati shared this idea with Rajesh, and the two became obsessed with it. They watched the movie more than 20 times, planning every detail of their sinister plot. Swati began training Rajesh to mimic Sudhakar's every habit: his posture, mannerisms, way of speaking, even his style of dressing. By November 26, 2017, their plan was ready to be executed. It was a Sunday, and Sudhakar was home. Swati, being a nurse, had extensive knowledge of anesthesia. According to the plan, she sedated Sudhakar first, then called Rajesh inside. Together they killed Sudhakar by striking his head with an iron rod. To ensure he couldn't be identified, they disfigured his face. They wrapped the body in a sheet, drove to a forest in Mahbubnagar, and burned the body before burying it. With all the evidence erased, it was time for the second, most horrifying part of their plan: replacing Sudhakar with Rajesh. According to their twisted logic, plastic surgery would make Rajesh look like Sudhakar. But for that to happen, Rajesh's face needed to be damaged in an accident. Swati convinced him that the only way was to burn his face with acid. On November 27th, 2017, the day after the murder, Rajesh reluctantly agreed. Swati, the woman who had once fallen in love with that very face, slowly poured acid onto Rajesh's skin, causing him unbearable pain. His screams echoed as the acid burned through his flesh. Swati rushed him to the hospital, claiming he was her husband, Sudhakar. What they hadn't anticipated was the reason they'd get caught: something as simple as a bowl of mutton soup. As you know, Sudhakar's brother grew suspicious when Rajesh, posing as Sudhakar, refused to drink the soup, which was Sudhakar's favorite. The truth? Rajesh was a vegetarian and couldn't bring himself to drink it. Swati had trained Rajesh in all of Sudhakar's habits, his movements, his speech, his lifestyle. But she overlooked this one detail. In the end, Rajesh managed to have his face burned, but couldn't drink the mutton soup. Both Swati and Rajesh were arrested, and the case came to a shocking conclusion. Their madness, inspired by a movie, led them to believe that by changing Rajesh's face, they could replace Sudhakar. But a person's identity isn't just tied to their face. It's connected to their social circles, their work life, and personal habits. No amount of planning can replicate all of these. In the end, this story shows that evil plans always lead to disastrous consequences.